This is Dr. John Brimhall, a special guest, Dr. Linda Huxtable from Florida, a renowned naturopath, and Kevin Jellerson, who is the one that got me interested in BEMER. So I just want to take a few minutes for those of you who may not know much about BEMER. I have probably $300,000 worth of equipment here in my house. I have a research center, and I treat only complicated patients here. I have everything from the big PEMFs and 5 or 6 different kinds of lasers. I have an oxygen tank. I have about everything you can imagine for treating patients. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If I had to give up everything, I'd want to hang on to at least one laser. But everything else, I would probably give up, even my hyperbaric chamber, for the BEMER. And the interesting thing about the BEMER, people say, well, what do you use it for? And I say, it doesn't matter what the condition is. What could you imagine would improve if you could improve the oxygen content to every cell in the body? Even the microcirculation, which is up to 74% of the circulation of the body. I mean, we never even talked like this before because we had no way of doing it, much less prove we've done it. But here with the BEMER, it's a special sine wave that actually, on its way up with that S curve that's laying on its side, it peaks 40 times before it hits the top. And they have found that that particular wave increases the circulation through the body, even the microcirculation. It also helps those blood vessels to move blood through there fantastically. So let's say that myself, I'm 69 years old. I like to exercise every day. I ride up and down in the hills here in Denver, Colorado. And I was really having a tough time getting in shape last year. The winter hangs on so long here, so you're several months not being able to ride unless you're on a snowmobile. And then I was having to literally push my bike up the last hill coming to my house. I have 5 major hills between here and the big circle that I take. And I do the HIIT training, high intensity training. So that means when I'm riding up the hill, once I warm up, I go as hard as I can to where I can't go anymore, and then you push yourself a little bit more. This increases the hypothalamus and pituitary output. This increases growth hormone. This gives you the best level of fitness that you can possibly have. Well, by the time I've done the first 3 hills, and then I go up the 4th one, and coming back the 5th one, I was literally having to get off and walk my bike up the hill. But once I started on the BEMER, literally within a couple of days, I not only didn't have to walk my bike up the last hill, I was shifting gears going up the last hill, and I did that this morning. I actually was in 2nd gear climbing up. So I just don't know why I wouldn't use the BEMER. That's the bigger case for me. Every morning when I get up, and I usually get up about 5 in the morning, I go downstairs to my research center, I turn on the BEMER. And I use the BEMER, and I'm now at a progress where I don't only do the 8 minutes on the pad, the whole BEMER pad where you lay down on it, but I'm also doing 20 minutes on a special exercise where I can work on my brain. My wife thinks that might be a good idea. So I can increase the circulation in my head, I can increase the circulation in my ears and in my eyes, and it's just a phenomenal procedure. So what I'm going to do, without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Huxtable because she has some slides that's going to kind of take you through the operational and some of the things that she does in her practice. So Dr. Huxtable.
Hi, it's great to be with everybody tonight. And Dr. John was the one who told me that BEMER was in the country. And I had tried to buy a BEMER a few years before when my dad came down with pretty bad peripheral artery disease. I was having trouble walking, and I got on the internet and started doing some research on microcirculation and found the BEMER and couldn't buy one. The infrastructure of the BEMER company was not set up very well in the U.S., couldn't find anyone who owned one, couldn't reach anybody in Germany. And so I knew what BEMER did, and I knew how it was different than PEMF, but I just finally gave up. So as soon as he told me that he had gotten one, I was very excited and went ahead and bought a couple and have been using them in my practice for, about 6 months now, I guess. And I've seen some really extraordinary things. And like Dr. John, I had before I moved to Florida full-time, I had a 14,000 square foot clinic in Atlanta, and I had an office in Vail, and I also owned every piece of equipment known to man. And so I've had a vast array of equipment that I could try out, and some things I wouldn't be without, and some things I kind of let go. I still see patients every day. My practice, I see, it's a concierge practice, so I have patients all over the country. But I have gotten a lot of patients on BEMER. And one thing that you realize pretty quickly is nothing else does what BEMER can do. I think one of the most asked questions I get from doctors is, how is this device going to duplicate this other device that I have, or interfere with it, or compete with it? And what you find is that nothing does what BEMER does, because you may be able to increase the circulation temporarily, but when you turn off whatever device you're using, guess what's going to happen? Your microcirculation is going to go back to where it was before you use that device. BEMER is the only device that we have that has been tested by Dr. Rainier Klopp, who wrote the book on microcirculation, and he has improved the BEMER. He has taken it through a few generations to the point where it now, an 8-minute treatment will last 10 to 12 hours. And like Dr. John, I have a very, very busy day. My BEMER 8-minute treatment is done when I get up in the morning before I get out of bed, because I sleep on the BEMER, and then I go through my day. And if I'm not in a tournament competing and my legs aren't tired, then I go the whole day and do BEMER again before I go to bed, and then I put it on the sleep program. And the sleep program is designed to detoxify your organs, regenerate and detoxify the organs. The aim of a therapeutic program using the BEMER is to stimulate the body's own regulatory mechanisms so that the dysfunction can be brought under control by the organism itself, using the natural mechanisms of the body that were designed for healing. So as we like to say, BEMER is not disease specific, and there are no contraindications except if you have an organ transplant and you are on a drug to suppress the immune system so that you don't reject that organ. So that is, and I get calls all the time, is, can you use BEMER if you have this? Can you use BEMER if you have that? The answer is always yes, and you start at very low intensities and you listen to the body. You don't want to put an older person on BEMER who has very occluded circulation and start, trying to push that blood through and detoxify them, because they're not going to be happy with you and they're going to get scared. So there is a very conservative protocol that we use, even for athletes, that starts at intensity 1, and each week you add 1 intensity till you get to intensity 6. Then you cycle back through 3 a week, 4 a week, 5 a week, and 6 a week, and you use the attachments or the modalities in order to spot test different areas that you need work on. Either shoulders, oh my goodness, I've had so many great things happen with everything that is imaginable, from eyesight to shoulder injuries to polycythemia to all my cancer patients are on BEMER, because no matter what you give somebody, if you spend as many hours of their life looking at people's blood under a live blood microscope, dark field microscopy, and you saw the fibrinogen and the platelet aggregation and the milieu that is full of every kind of pathogenic bacteria, because it has evolved, or it has mutated to live in the swamp because the circulation is occluded, you understand that people are basically hypoxic. They are not getting that blood flow through capillaries that are 1/3 the size of a hair. And guess what? Nothing you give them. You put them on these expensive protocols, and you look at their blood under the device that Dr. Klopp invented, and you see that they're getting 1 blood cell through those capillaries occasionally. How in the heck is anything supposed to get where it's going? So it makes your protocol so much more effective. It makes anything else you use so much more effective, because you're not dealing with a swamp. One of the most frequent questions that I get is, I got it today, and they said, I was on Dr. Pollack's website. Why didn't he do a review on BEMER? And it's very simple. in this slide that you see on your screen, comparison of various PEMF devices is a bit misleading because BEMER is not technically a PEMF. What BEMER does is it uses the PEMF frequency as a carrier to bring this BEMER sine wave, which is a patented sine wave, into the body. And as Dr. Klopp discovered, it was the only thing that caused the vasomotion of the capillaries to deliver blood to the capillary bed, and on the other side to detox it from carbon dioxide and waste. So if you look at if you Google BEMER, IMRS comes up. And IMRS is using very duplicitous advertising because they're using old BEMER stats and they're using the new BEMER picture among other things, and they've gotten themselves into trouble. But if we go to the next slide, so BEMER uses PEMF to deliver the patented sine wave on that carrier frequency. It's like if you think of a radio station, it's going to be there. It needs content to deliver information. So you have to have whatever DJ or whatever news program on that radio frequency in order to benefit from that frequency being there. This shows the venular oxygen utilization. BEMER, of course, is the one in the orange. And you can see immediately within 2 minutes after you start, your circulation goes from looking like nothing is getting through the capillaries with this great device that Dr. Klopp invented to be able to look at it live time, to looking like a Ferrari racetrack. And unfortunately, I don't have that slide tonight. I thought it was going to be presented, but it's a short video, and we can give you the link to get to that short video to actually see this. So you could see the other devices never got to where BEMER was as far as oxygen utilization. This was done in the intestines, which were the target tissue of where they were measuring. And after 4 days, which is the last measurement, you can see that BEMER still far exceeded. The red line is where they turned the BEMER off, and you can see BEMER far exceeded what the other devices were able to do. And that is not saying anything negatively about PEMF devices. I own a big one, a Delta Pulse, a Magna Pulse. I love my PEMF. I don't ever want to be without it. I know Dr. John has one also, but it doesn't do the same thing. It doesn't do anywhere near the same thing. It is as different as a fork and a spoon. You know, people ask me, well, which is better, BEMER or EMF? I said, do you like a fork or a spoon better? You know, it depends what you're trying to do. If we're talking about opening the microcirculation, we want to use BEMER. So I do thermography on all my patients, and we can only see a partial part of this thermography that the patient was so kind to let us use. And the sides of this patient, she was on a 1 to 10. She was in an 8 to 10 every day, had been for a long time. And what was very distressing was the pattern in the before picture on the left breast. Having done thermography for 20 years now, I can tell you that you do not see this kind of change in 3 months. You can see how the inflammation in the axillary space really decreased. And that spot on her breast that we sent her in for an ultrasound because it was very concerning decreased. And not only that, but after 3 months, she told me on the phone that, and it took her 3 times of telling me that she wasn't in pain anymore, that she was completely out of chronic pain. And this had been a chronic pain sufferer for a long time. You could see the gut. And already we're seeing some of the blue in the center of the gut around the umbilicus there, but we're seeing the red decrease, and and that's what she did. She took one of the modalities. The B body is the mat you lay on, and that treats the entire body, and you are able to enhance the BEMER signal by using one of the devices and using it over specific areas. This woman is just thrilled with BEMER and uses it every day. Another problem that I know all of you out there hear about all the time is sleep deprivation. And we have, millions and millions and millions of people that 16 million, I think, people, 40 million suffer from chronic sleep disorder. I wrote that down because I don't remember numbers very well. So 40 million people suffer from chronic sleep disorder, and I know you think that they're all in your practice. The typical adult only gets about 25% sound sleep. This is a 71-year-old man who has a long history of sleep disorder, everything from sleep apnea. He was only getting maybe an hour of sound sleep at night, waking up 2 to 3 times a night, not sleeping soundly. And this was chronic, and he would sleep 4 to 5 hours. In January, he started using the BEMER, and we measured with using a Jawbone fitness band, and he was getting 30% sound sleep and waking up 2 to 3 times a night. By April, just amazingly, his sleep went to 50% sound sleep, and he woke up 0 to 1 time a night. By May, he was getting 55% sound sleep, and he was going right to sleep, and he now sleeps about 9 hours, 8 to 9 hours every night. This is extraordinary, because you all know about the recent research on any kind of sleep sedatives and how it increases death from all known sources of mortality. They are just very dangerous. So people who sleep better have more energy. They have a better feeling of well-being. They're rested. So if you are just going to use this for sleep, it's just, I see extraordinary changes in people. And then after you use and this was before he had even begun using the sleep, using it to sleep on. I sleep on my device every night, and as patients progress and they go through week 6, you begin having them sleep on the B-body 1 time in the next week. And most of them don't like it. Most of them are not happy with you. They don't want to do it again. They don't sleep. They're restless. They don't have a good night. And it's because they detox. The urine is very strong in the morning. It's very dark. It really detoxes them. So you tell them, well, the reason we only have you sleep on it 1 night the first time you do it is so you forget how miserable you were next week. We talk you into it again. So usually by the next week, if I do some things to help open the detox pathways, just simple things like Epsom salt detox baths, or whatever you do in your practice to help their detox pathways. The next week, and we make sure that the B body is under the mattress pad so it doesn't feel hard against them, and they can't even feel it then. The B body, the mattress pad, the sheet or a grounding sheet, and then the person sleeps on it, and they don't feel it. And by the second night that they sleep on it, it's usually quite a bit better. The third week, if they can do it 3 nights, then you're not going to get it away from them. They're going to want to sleep on this every single night. Here's some of the, there's that 40 million people. That's where I got that. Have a chronic sleep disorder. 62% of American adults have a sleep problem a few nights a week. So many people, and so many young people. A lot of it is from the computers, the screens, everything. But everything from cognitive impairment to irritability to increased risk of diabetes. You know what the problems are of not sleeping. And your HGH isn't working very well. You're not producing HGH. So when I talk about BEMER, after looking at blood under the microscope for so many years and wondering what we could do to heal varicosities, to heal the circulatory system. So many problems with the circulatory system. And in the thermography that I do the grayscale. And it used to be that when I saw the varicosities in the legs and all over the body, you try Aeschylus or horse chestnut or whatever, and I really didn't get that great of a success with it. It wasn't something that I even wanted to look for because I didn't know what to do when I found it. I just didn't have great success. And of course, women will go in for sclerosing or saline injections in the legs, which isn't a good idea. And after I got BEMER and saw what it was doing to my patients with thermography, I got pretty darn excited. And I have seen varicosities in the legs reduce significantly in a very, very, very short time, in a week after beginning to use BEMER. So if you think about a swamp and you think about the organisms that mutate to adapt to living in that swamp, we look at a swamp and we may not think it looks very pretty, but though the mothers of those organisms think that they are beautiful because they are very well adapted to living in that swamp. Okay, so looking at blood under the microscope, it really and truly, as you watch the organisms mutate into very virulent forms of pathogens, you really think of a swamp. It's a quagmire. There's fibrinogen, things aren't moving. Used to be when I looked at a child's blood, the blood was, cells were round and the cells were moving with this incredible energy across the screen. Now all the kids are sick too, but you saw what the blood should look like. And now pretty much everybody's blood looks like a swamp. And you know how those pathogens are going to mutate and change because they are just trying to survive. And then you think of a beautiful mountain spring that's racing full of oxygen, structured water, which should be in our system as well, and how it's not going to look like that swamp. The organisms are going to be very different, and in our bloodstream, they're symbiotic to our health. They're organisms that we need and that are symbiotic to our health. And this is the best visual, other than that little video that we don't have right now, that will show you what is going to happen to your patient after you do that 8 minutes of BEMER. So that is all I have for tonight. And go ahead.
Can you hear me, Linda?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Before you switch channels, tell us any personal experience you and your husband had while we're switching over to the next speaker. How did you feel on the BEMER?
Well, it was interesting. I have glaucoma. It's low pressure glaucoma, and it's hereditary in my family and the women in my family. And so my vision field was definitely decreasing, my peripheral vision. And so it would feel like things were sneaking up on me and scaring me like mice. It looked like mice, because it would get into my field of vision before I could pick it up peripherally. And so I used the BEMER, one of the applications, the BPAD, over my head. And what I have seen in my vision is absolutely extraordinary. I cannot believe what I can see. I mean, I look out all the time, and I'm just amazed, and nothing sneaks up on me anymore. In my sport, I'm a competitive athlete, very high ranked in my my sport. And when I do a tournament, I have my BEMER courtside, and if I feel my legs are tired, I feel heaviness, my body's tired, I feel lack of mental acuity, mental sharpness, I lay right on that BEMER. It's like I took an hour nap. I absolutely felt what you did as far as my legs getting stronger for no apparent reason. With chronic pain, sometimes my hands will hurt, and if I put them on the BEMER, it goes away. There are so many reasons that I use BEMER, and just wouldn't want to be without it, and don't ever go anywhere without it. And I haven't missed any sessions since I got it. But that is far beside some of the real extraordinary things I have seen happen with BEMER. And, as physicians, we're allowed to a little more latitude in talking about them. As lay people, IBDs, independent BEMER distributors, are way more regulated as far as what they can say. So what I do is I actually have patients come to BEMER meetings. I have a patient with a very bad blood disorder. He's got what we call thick blood. And I know that some of you will know what I'm talking about. It's called polycythemia. And I'm not even going to begin to tell you that BEMER will cure polycythemia. But what we have seen, I have over 600 labs on him. He was getting, he's lived over 20 years, and I've been mopping up the damage from the hypoxia for all those years. These patients usually live 4 to 5 years. He actually moved down from Atlanta to be by me. And I've kept him alive all these years, but we were really losing him. I really thought he was gone. I thought we had lost the battle after a little over 20 years. We put him on BEMER, and he can barely talk about it. It has changed his life so dramatically. When he goes to get a phlebotomy now, instead of an hour and a very traumatic, painful procedure, they get the vein immediately, and the phlebotomy is done in 10 minutes. The blood is not motor oil black. It is red. It comes right out. And the best part is that he's down to about, well, between 9 to 12 weeks between phlebotomies, where he was at the point where his oncologist was insisting that he get a phlebotomy about every 7 to 10 days. And it was just so traumatic for him. I don't think he would have made it because you get that rebound effect. So for many, many things, arthritis, Parkinson's, it isn't disease specific. That's the great thing about it, and you're not going to hurt anybody. You could put an infant on it. They're using it in the ambulances in Bangkok. They're using it in the hospitals. They're using it in the neonatal intensive care units in Germany, and they're saving 9 out of 10 of this class of preemies where they were only saving 2 out of 10. You could put it on in somebody with a blood clot in their heart. You could put it in, and you get advice and you use it wisely. You don't overdo the intensities. You listen to that person. You listen to the feedback. You have them listen to their body. They take a BEMER home, and they can use it at home 8 minutes twice a day, and it has truly been such an important addition to what we know.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn the time over to Kevin here in 1 second, but I want the doctors to know that do AK or they do muscle response testing, or if you do the Brimhall protocol. The way I do this in the office is I'll bring a patient in the first time I see them, and I only see complicated cases. And I insist they all have BEMER treatment, or I won't see them. And the majority of them I talk into getting their own BEMER so they can take advantage of it every day. And then, of course, their whole family wants to be on it. My 5-year-old twins say it gives them superpowers. But anyway, I'll bring a patient in, sit on the chair, I'm behind them, on the table actually, and I'll do a range of motion study, have them bend their elbows there, and then I just raise the elbow up in the air and say how high I can raise it. Most of you have seen me do that, and most of the time they'll come up to barely 90 degrees and lock up. And so they see a restricted motion. I will then do the total scan on them. I'll check liver, gallbladder, cystic duct, spleen, pancreas, heart, liver, lungs, everything. I do a whole scan on it. Then I lie down on the BEMER. This is the first visit now, and I do the BEMER treatment to them. Then I get them back up and check them. Most of the time, they have improved anywhere from 50% to 100% range of motion, both the upper extremities and the lower legs, if you try those as well. Most of the reflexes, probably 9 out of 10 reflexes, go away just by doing BEMER because it increases the blood supply there. And so it increases anything that we do because it gets oxygen to the tissues. It hauls away toxins when it's all through. So not only is it carrying oxygen to the cells, it's also carrying the nutrition that we put them on. And that's how I demonstrate it to the patients. And when they feel the difference, most of them are very, very eager to go ahead and give it a try in their own life and doctors in their own practice. Okay, Kevin, give us a little bit of your insights on the BEMER.
Okay, thank you, Dr. John. Before I get into my short 10-slide presentation...
Kevin, you're a little bit low. Speak louder or turn your mic up.
Well, is this any better?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, before I get into my short presentation, I'd like to just share with you a little bit about my personal experience with BEMER. Over a year ago, I received a call from my good friend of almost 30 years now, David Sage, and he had just gotten involved with BEMER, was very excited about it, and encouraged me to attend an academy coming up that following weekend. I was scheduled for some pretty serious dental surgery, which I put on hold. And second day of the academy, I placed my order. I got it in 4 days, and glad to say that I still have my tooth. The dental challenge went away. And also, I had genetic neuropathy for the past 5 years, where I was getting those shooting pains at night in the bottom of my feet. Very painful, of course, very disruptive to sleep, and just not a happy camper. I'll say that the very first time I used BEMER on my feet, the shooting pains stopped, have not returned, and I probably got about 75% of the feeling back in my feet, and I'm just ecstatic. It's an incredible, incredible device. But what I'd like to do is share with everybody this evening how to market your BEMER in a medical practice. And it's very simple, 5 easy steps. The first thing you want to do is send out an email invite to everybody in your database, invite them in, and then you're going to advertise a little bit of BEMER in your waiting room. The second step is to offer 2 different packages for them after they come in and have their free sessions. And then you want to encourage them to maybe bring a friend the next visit, and you'll offer them both a free session for that. The fourth step is you want to let them know that they can own their own BEMER and have it in the comfort of their own home for their entire family and friends to use. And then last, let them know that if they share BEMER with others and someone gets a BEMER, that the company gives a really nice, what I call a referral fee or a referral gift for them sharing BEMER with others. So here's step 1, email blast invite, something to the effect of this, and you can get this PowerPoint slide for this text later. I'll give you Jason's contact information, but I would just use exactly the verbiage here and then encourage them to call now, schedule their free session, and you always want to put an expiration date on the bottom, and I recommend make it 30 days from the day you send out the email. And these pictures up here are kind of nice to include, especially the far right one showing the mother and daughter on the BEMER. That shows that it's very safe for children also. Now, the advertised part of step 1, the company has some really nice pull-up banners that you can order that you can put in your waiting room. And I'd also maybe put some type of a sign that would say, ask about your free BEMER session, and give it a value of between, say, $20 and $50. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then also, there is going to be a waiting room video loop available soon that you can put on a flat screen in your waiting room for your patients to watch as they're sitting there. And that will generate a lot of interest and questions right off the bat. Step 2, on the offering the 2 packages. We recommend that once they come in and have their session and you educate them a little bit about BEMER, you tell them that you have 2 options. You have a 10-session pack, and you want to price those between $200 and $500. Now, why the difference? Well, if you're in a low-income area, you want to start at the $200 for 10. And, of course, if you're in, say, parts of Florida, New York City, LA, I would go for the $500 mark because they can well afford it. Now, if they sign up for 20 sessions, give them a 20 to 30% discount, and ask them which one would work best for them. We do recommend selling packages instead of just onesies and twosies because it makes a big difference when they can have minimum 10 sessions. In fact, and Dr. Linda, it may have been you, I heard of a practitioner that actually generated an extra $10,000 in their practice in their first month. Just doing this program. So it's very, very exciting, and it works. Okay, step 3 is refer a friend. And so once they come in and have a session and they have some good results, let them know, hey, bring a friend next time, now not their spouse, and preferably they have a condition, and you'll give both of them a free session, a complimentary session. And this is a very effective and easy way to grow your practice rapidly because every time someone comes in with a friend, they're going to have good results and get to know you, and you start building that relationship with them, and your practice will grow. Now, step 4, again, after they have good results, let them know that they can have a BEMER in their own home, and just let them know that. You know, if they're interested, they're going to ask you, well, how much is it? And you explain, well, that's the best part. It's, you know, it's X dollars a month and with financing and whatever. And it's also effective for animals, by the way, which is why I put that picture in there. Now, just real quick, what financially, what do you earn when one of your patients invests in a BEMER? You're going to earn between $1,000 and $1,500 every time they order the Pro unit. And over, I think, 9 out of 10 of our sales in the U.S. are the Pro unit. I've never had a classic unit sold, so that's what I recommend everybody get. And that 17% of the $6,000 sale is $1,000. And once you sell 4 Pro units and attend an academy, you'll be locked in at the top level of 25% or $1,500 forever. You do not have to requalify. You don't fall down. Amazing company. They really do have a heart. Now, step 5 is share with others. So soon after they have their own and they're getting good results, and this could be a month or 2 months down the road, then you let them know that, hey, by the way, if you know anybody that wants to get a BEMER, the company's going to pay you a really nice referral fee, and it's between, again, $1,000 and $1,500. So just throw it out there. Throw the hook in the water. Very, very easy. It's not salesy, and let them know. And if you keep doing that, you're going to be amazed at the interest. Now, what do you earn off of that? Well, you're going to earn between 12% or $720 on their first 4 sales. And then once they go to that 25% level, you're locked in at 8% or $480 forever. And let me tell you, these really add up, and it's very exciting to generate that extra income, but also to know, you know, you're really helping people take control of their health. Okay, so to recap, email and advertise. Then you want to offer them the different 2 packages. Encourage them to bring a friend the next time for they both get a free session. Let them know they can have a BEMER in their home, and then encourage them to share with others and what's in it for them on a financial basis. So here are the contact information for Jason. And most of you know Jason, and this is his office and mobile number, and there's his email address. So you can contact him for this PowerPoint or any questions. And as always, I'm always available. And that's all I have. So thank you very much for your time. And back to you, Dr. John.
All right, that was wonderful. It's amazing how many people get incredible results until you realize anytime you increase circulation and nutrients to an area, and you haul garbage off, how could you not respond well? And what possible problem could you have by doing that? And we want to end there. We've been going hard and strong here for about 43 minutes. So give Jason a call. He's the manager of my office at 480-964-5198. And get more information. Look at other webinars we have available. And we'll be right here next week also talking about autoimmune conditions and why they're such a problem. And believe me, I use my BEMER on any autoimmune conditions along with very specific nutrition and treatments that we'll discuss next week. Good night. God bless you all.